Prologue. The notice it happened on my 60th birthday. The same morning, Nancy brought me coffee and said, "You've worked hard enough. Maybe it's time to rest." And then the email came. "Effective immediately, your position has been terminated." I stared at the screen. No warning. No farewell. Just numbers, severance, and silence. 28 years of loyalty. Gone in 12 lines of corporate language. That night, I didn't blow out candles. I sat in the dark and watched the cursor blink on an empty reply window. How do you answer a message that ends your life as you knew it? Nancy tried to stay calm. "We'll figure it out." But I could see it in her eyes. Fear mixed with disbelief. We had plans. Early retirement, road trips, grandkids. Now, all I had was time. And time is heavier when you don't know what to do with it. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Viktor Frankl. That moment, I didn't want change. I wanted my old life back. But deep down, I knew Frankl was right. If I couldn't change the situation, I'd have to change me. Chapter 1. The empty desk. The next morning, I cleared my office. A box full of pens, old reports, one framed photo of me shaking hands with the CEO. It felt like collecting artifacts from a life that didn't exist anymore. At home, I put the box on the kitchen table. Nancy poured coffee and didn't say a word. Silence can sound louder than anger sometimes. The bills kept arriving. Mortgage, insurance, car payments. I realized I hadn't worried about money in 20 years. Now every dollar had weight. Nancy finally spoke. "We can't keep this house forever, Richard. We need to think smart." I hated the idea. That house was our pride. But she was right. The house wasn't an asset anymore. It was a chain. That night, I lay awake, thinking about Warren Buffett's words. The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. Maybe it wasn't just the job. Maybe I'd built a life that only worked when everything went right. And now, the habits that once made me feel safe were keeping me stuck. Chapter 2. The house that owns Vam. 3 weeks later, Nancy sat me down with a spreadsheet. She had done the math. If we sell this place and move to something smaller, we'll cut our expenses by half. I resisted. Pride always speaks first. This house is part of who we are. She looked me dead in the eye. No, Richard, it's part of who we were. Her words hit like cold water. So we listed the house. 30 years of memories, laughter and birthdays, boxed and labeled storage. When the sold sign went up, I expected to feel loss. Instead, I felt air, space, freedom. Nancy smiled. See? Sometimes letting go is the win. We bought a smaller townhome on the edge of Tempe, Arizona. Nancy found a small rental duplex nearby, old but fixable. She said, "This is our new project." I didn't know it yet, but that duplex would save us. Chapter 3. The 1% routine. The hardest part of retirement isn't boredom, it's direction. For the first time, my mornings had no meetings, no goals, no deadlines. So I made one. Each day I'd do something 1% better. Walk 10 more minutes, read 10 more pages, save 10 more dollars. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. James Clear my system was simple. Move. Learn. Build. Repeat. And slowly, the fog in my mind began to clear. Nancy joined me on morning walks. We talked about things we hadn't talked about in years. Dreams, not plans. Our steps got longer. Our breathing steadier. It wasn't just exercise. It was rebuilding rhythm. That's when I realized maybe discipline wasn't punishment. Maybe it was healing. Chapter 4. The Rental Revelation. Nancy had an idea. What if we rent out the spare room? I laughed. Who would want to stay here? A week later, our first guest booked 3 nights. $600. Then another. And another. Suddenly, our home wasn't draining money. It was making it. I started tracking numbers again. But this time, they were ours. Small strokes fell great oaks. Benjamin Franklin. The more we hosted, the more confident we became. Nancy handled guests. I managed repairs. Our first rental property paid off within a year. It wasn't luck. It was movement. One small step at a time. Chapter 5. The Health Dividend. The money helped, but the real change was inside me. I'd lost 20 pounds, slept better, and felt sharper. Routine became reward. One morning, as I tied my shoes, Nancy said, "You know what's funny? You look younger now than when you were working." I laughed. Maybe stress costs more than I thought. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Seneca, I had wasted decades chasing promotions. Now I chased the sunrise. And every morning I felt rich. Not in dollars, but in time. Chapter 6. The Second Freedom. 2 years later, I checked our numbers. Our small rental, dividend fund, and reduced expenses meant one thing. We were financially free again. But this time, freedom didn't mean luxury. It meant enough. Wealth is having enough. More than enough is a trap. Naval Ravikanti. I no longer needed titles or trophies. Just mornings, purpose, and peace. As I watered the lavender outside our porch, Nancy smiled. "Still walking?" I nodded. "Always. That's the habit that saved my life." The camera pans out. A modest home, a quiet couple, sunlight washing over them. Voiceover. Sometimes life takes away everything, just to show you what really matters.